Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of my book talk. My name is Femi Martin, and I am the author of Jesus the Egyptian. This is the book we are reading and discussing. We've been reading the book, the story so far, about our Lord Jesus Christ when he was a baby in Egypt. We've read how they entered Egypt, and we've seen how they have been managing to survive. We've also read about Herod's sickness, what Herod is up to during those times. I know this is just purely imagination, but there are concrete evidence of their movement in Egypt. And you can get that from the Egyptian Coptic Church. They have an online website which you can get all the details of their journeys in Egypt from. You can see the map and trace their journey as they move around. If you can trace their journey, you will see that they couldn't have been staying in a place for too long, and there has to be a reason why. From the last episode which we've read, we've seen where baby Jesus did his first birthday in chapter 9 and how they did it. How they could have done it, rather. But on this episode, we're now on chapter 10. We will continue from chapter 10. And the chapter title for today is In the Western Desert, chapter 10. Without further ado, we will go straight into it. Because we know now that the Holy Family has to continue moving constantly, and they shouldn't forget themselves. They shouldn't get too carried away, because the life of the Holy Child is in peril. Herod is really seeking after him to kill. So this is the cause for their journey throughout the time in Egypt, just to keep baby Jesus safe. And how they do it, how they could have done it, is what this story is about. Let's continue now. Let's go straight to chapter 10, in the Western Desert. Early the next morning, Joseph prepared for the journey. He packed some provision and food left from the celebration. Among the provision are a small tent and a few other items he purchased. He filled 3 water bags. They set off at an early hour, taking the southern route. As they go in, Joseph is doing investigation so that they don't just go somewhere and end up at a dead end or facing the water, and they won't have a means of crossing or where to stay again, and they might not be able to return back. So all this, Joseph is taking into consideration and is asking people where they could go, where they could go, and where the next city is, or what is the next city. So he has been doing his research. They are almost out of town when they meet a trader selling camel. Joseph approached the man and offered all the money he asked on him for a camel. Please, this is all I have on me, Joseph says, after hearing the price of the camel and donkeys. He realized he doesn't have enough to even buy the smallest donkey. I need the camel to go into the desert with my family. The man looks at Joseph and then beyond him to Mary and baby Jesus standing a distance away. He smiles a mischievous smile, knowing that the reason he pitched his shop here, for those people going into the desert, he knows they will pay more for their last resort they can find. He looks at his animals, then says, For that amount, I can give you that one over there. He points to a small and thin camel. The camel looks haggard and deprived, which makes Joseph wonder, how far will this carry us before it dies? Nevertheless, he pays the man all the money he has on him. Having been told about the journey ahead, he knows the camel will help get them through the desert. So Joseph wants to purchase a camel to take them into the desert, because he knows if they go up north, they are bound to come to a dead end facing the Great Sea, and they won't have any other place to go more. So they decide to go south again. Going south, and now they are walking into the desert. So he knows that a camel will help them in the desert. That's why he wants to pay his last resort. But God knows what they need. He knows where they are going. Even the camel trader might be, even though he's greedy for gain, but he still gives them something. Nevertheless, he pays the man all the money he has on him. Having been told about the journey ahead, he knows the camel will help them get through the desert. He puts his provision together and ties them to the camel. Then he sits Mary and baby Jesus on the animal while he leads it on foot. The journey is rough and weary. The desert sun beats down on them with a biting tendency, and yet they continue. On the first night, they have to camp on the desert sand, right in the middle of nowhere. They pitch their tent and camp for the night. Hills of pyramids surround them on every side. They eat from their provision and drink before they sleep. Joseph knows that in the desert he will have no place to find wood for a bed, so he packed enough for them. In the tent there is enough blanket and pillow to sleep on. First thing in the morning, Joseph packed everything away and they set off again. By now, baby Jesus is walking and he's grown his front two teeth, so he's not nursing anymore. He is eating what Mary gives him, and the third water bottle is for him to drink from. It is talking. His talking isn't French yet, since Mary and Joseph speak Aramaic to each other. He is picking up on the language little by little. While they journey on, Mary tells baby Jesus stories of Egypt, especially the ones the Jewish are commanded to remember, such as when they received the Ten Commandments and when they were led out of Egypt. Baby Jesus doesn't ask questions but listens. Mary isn't sure if he takes it in what she says to him. Most times it seems to be far away somewhere in his mind as they go along. They rested on the second night in the desert and feed on their provision. They feed the camel as well, which runs low their provisions. And Joseph realized they won't have anything for the third night if they don't make it into a town. Mary is worried, but baby Jesus doesn't look bothered at all. He enjoys sitting in the sun and drawing in the sand with his hand whenever they stop. By the third night, they still haven't reached a settlement. They must camp in the desert, and of course, they have nothing to eat and drink. Joseph sets up the tent and waits. Mary asks, "What are you waiting for?" "We need to eat and feed the baby," Joseph says. "I'm waiting on God." Mary goes back into the tent. When she lies down, baby Jesus lies beside her. Soon, the story so far, you see, now they are destitute and they have nothing on them to eat or drink. Their provisions have run out and they are in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. How would they survive? How could they survive that? See, it is part of a real life experience that they would have gone through with the roots of their journey in Egypt. This is the part of the experience they would have gone through with a little baby with them. They will be in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. Soon, a strong sandstorm rises in this distance, and it can be seen coming towards them. Joseph rushes in and tells them to get up. We need to run now. There is a sandstorm coming towards us, he says. Mary grabs baby Jesus and follows Joseph out of the tent. Sand is everywhere, blowing in the air. There is no air to breathe. You need to breathe in, just sand. They leave their tent and everything they have and look for a safe place. They haven't gone far from their tent when the storm becomes heavy around them. They can't see anything, even baby Jesus. Mary and Joseph shield him to get through the storm. It's all around them and their path is completely blocked by the raging storm. Baby Jesus, still in Mary's arm, stretches an arm forward and shouts, "Stop!" Immediately, the raging sandstorm stops, with the sand settling down to earth. The air is clear and even the tent is intact. Their tent is intact. When they look around, there are large birds laying on the desert floor. They are flapping their wings to take off but can't because they were caught in the storm. Joseph sees them and instantly gives thanks. As the darkness falls, Joseph sees what looks like flat loaves on the desert floor. He picks one and eats it before he gives thanks, and picks more. He still hasn't caught the bird because there's no water and he just waits. He takes the loaves into Mary and baby Jesus. There is no means to kill the bird. There's no water. Let's wait on the Lord, Mary says. Baby Jesus gets up like he's had a command, with a loaf in his hand, and walks out of the tent. He stands outside for a second or two, just watching and listening, then bends down and scoops the sand from the earth. Water comes up and through the sand and he yells, "Mama, water, come see, water." Mary and Joseph see the water and are amazed that even the desert swell with water for him. Why do we wait for God, Joseph said, when we have him with us here? Mary turns the world around in her head. Esau only does what God tells him to do, she says. Joseph caught and washes the bird, then roasts it on the open fire. They eat and rest for the night. In the morning they start again, packing their stuff on the camel and setting off into the sunrise. On the fifth day they reach a settlement which is known as Al Ascrit. There is hardly any building in the area except for one with pyramids on the edge of the settlement. There are about 3 sites with new buildings being built, and they appear to be camel farmers because they have about 3 pens with lots of camels in them, both young and old. People are living out of tents in large settlements. The settlement has a ruler who has the only erect building in the area. It is a large building spanning a wide courtyard. The ruler is a large man, tall with a long white beard. His face is rough looking with dark patches from healed bruises. Somehow they have no standing statue of a god. He welcomes them and allows them to pitch their tent in the settlement. Joseph notices they appear to be pyramid builders because he can see their tools laid out within the settlement. He sees hammers, shovels, scrapers, and lots of self-made sandbags. They pitch their tent and baby Jesus goes outside the tent to play. He sits on the sand and dawdles on the ground, drawing large lines. Then he writes words down on the ground that even Mary or Joseph can't pronounce. When when evening comes, baby Jesus walks behind their tent and makes water swell out of the ground. He digs a large area around the water where he can sit and bathe himself. He sits in the water and splashes. Their tent is in the middle of the settlement where Mangori, the ruler, directed them. Pitch your tent here, he says. Here I can watch over you. Mary think that's what he says to everyone, every new arrival. So her worries fell away. She yearns to put her feet down and go to sleep. She feels safety is around her and then hopes to pursue her leisure moments. They've explained briefly to Mangori, the chief, that they have enemies looking for them without going into full details. They are not sure if he believes them. Mary is glad they found a resting place. Joseph is worried and nursing a fear inside him. The fear comes when he remembers Mary tied to a chair in Samanu City. He still hasn't got rid of it. It's like every time he sees her, panics. He sees her, he panics because he remembers. Because Joseph loves Mary. So what the experience Mary had in Samanu City, Joseph is still in Joseph's mind. It's hurting him. That how could they do that to his wife? So it's really hurting him. And he doesn't want that experience to repeat itself again. That is his questions. Each day they spend in Ascret is filled with anxiety to move on again. He's frightened that a repeat of what happened then will happen again. Even though the people in the settlement are friendly and welcoming, and Mangoro vows to protect them, Joseph doesn't feel at all secure. He is counting every day they spend around the settlement as another day for their chaser to catch up with them. Joseph considered their options and know they must keep moving. It's King Herod that wants baby Jesus dead. Joseph can't possibly confront the king or raise a war against him. It's one man against a large force. He can't do much around the settlement because there's hardly anything he can do with sand, which is all they have. Joseph doesn't want to land to build a pyramid. The area has a large and deep well they draw water from, but they also use water baby Jesus brought up from the ground. When Mary wakes up and finds baby Jesus already washed and in clean clothes, she is amazed. Did you wash his hair and dress him? She asks Joseph. No, I didn't, Joseph says. I saw him in the back washing in the pool. I thought you put him there. I've been sleeping, sweetheart. So apparently, baby Jesus bathed himself and dressed himself at just 1 year old. Of course. Why can't he? Because he's got the capacity, the mental capacity. He can do all things. He can walk, he can talk. So why can't he bathe himself and dress himself? Mary has been doing it for him and is watching her. Both walk out of the tent with suspicious looking on their faces. They seem to know what is going to happen. When they reach behind their tent, they find the pool, but with balsam flowers in different colors all around the area. Mary and Joseph know this is a trademark. It will cause others to be curious. There is no way to hide it. When the locals see the flower, they say among themselves, surely it must be from God. Yeah, a flower growing in the desert. Water swelling in the desert. A flower growing in the desert. They, ha- they, are, they are hallowed and more affectionate towards them, offering offering them gifts to pray for them. They even kneel before baby Jesus, saying he should lay hands on them. God is with you, they say. With this going on, Joseph feels more threatened and prepares for them to leave. They set off from out Ascret on the seventh day. Having fed their camels and watered it well, they set for far in the western desert. For days they don't reach another settlement, traveling for miles on foot and camel. They did not rest for night. where they did rest for night, where they find water and fill their bottle. They pack enough food and water to last them another 2 or 3 days. The harsh hot sun of this desert beats against them, making them run thirsty so often that they run out of water. They don't have a map, so figuring their location is guesswork most of the time. They've been traveling in the desert for 4 days before Joseph says, I think I can feel water. Water? Where? Mary asks from behind on the camel. She's been singing to baby Jesus and Joseph joins in at times. I think it's a river, he says, looking eastward at the horizon. They rest for the night on the spot and Joseph pitched their tent. In the middle of the night, they can't see because flies enter the tent. Miraculously, they fly around baby Jesus where he sleeps, but none of them land on him. They just fly around him and then away. But there's so many of them that Mary and Joseph gets worried and use a cloth to sweep them all out of the tent. In the morning, they leave early before the sun comes out. They travel east for another 4 days before they finally come to the Nile. And that's the end of the chapter. And we've seen here the Holy Family in destitute, where they were lost. Where they find no means to survive. But God miraculously performing a miracle for them to feed and even for water as well. I see this as a common thing because signs and wonders are the symbol of Jesus when he was alive, when he was on the earth. When he was on the earth, signs and wonders are meant to be following him. And so, them being stranded in the desert, it's just up to God to save them, and He surely would. That's the end of the episode today, and thank you everybody for watching and listening. If you haven't got a copy of the book yet, go and get a copy today so that you can join us on another episode next time. We'll be reading from chapter 11 on the next episode. So come and join us on another episode, and thank you. Bye bye.